perfect mess is my perfect mess. Perfect mess is my perfect mess.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Perfect Mess Podcast. This is your host, Ray Molina, and this is episode 32. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before we get started, I want to give yet another um, rest in peace shout out to Shock G from Digital Underground out of the Bay Area. Man, I hate starting podcasts off like this because I feel like uh, there's just so much going on in the world right now that is just bringing us down, and but I have to do it because this whole thing is about my life, right? The perfect mess. But uh, these guys that I'm mentioning when I introduce these podcasts and I say rest in peace DMX or rest in peace Black Rob, and now rest in peace Shock G. These are guys who had major influences on my young adulthood, growing up, even when I was in high school. Their music was a big part of my soundtrack as a young adult and a kid, and it's starting to hit home that or excuse me, people in my age bracket, we we don't have a whole lot of time. You know what I mean? Now, granted, he was a good, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years older than I am. It's still close in age to me. And it's just what I'm starting to realize is, you know, you got to take every day for what it is. You got to be thankful for every day that you wake up, that you're given an opportunity to be around your family, be around your kids, be around your wife, your significant other, your husband, your mom, dad, anything. I just feel like we just got to be thankful for that because, we're not promised another day. And gosh, man, when I saw that post hit the internet, I was like, you got to be kidding me. DMX is gone, Black Rob is gone, and now Shock G in a matter of 2 weeks. So, um, for what it's worth, my condolences go to the family of Shock G, and some of you may know him as Humpty Hump, uh, and Tupac used to run with them back in the days, Digital Underground. So again, my condolences to the family of Shock G, and anybody who may be mourning his passing. We love you, and man, that's another hit to the hip hop community and to those of us who love him. So moving forward, this is not going to be a super long one, but I wanted to jump on here and knock this out because the main topic is something that hits home with me very, very strong, very strongly. And it's something that I heard on a podcast that I was listening to, that I'm a fan of, and I want to share it with you. Um, and we'll get there in a second. Um, I do want to share something real quick. We got in, me and my sons were going to a GameStop. My son uh, got a gift card from his mom. Well, both of them got a gift card, and they wanted to go get the new MLB game. And so we went to GameStop, right? And we're in there. My kids are amped, and my son Jordan's like, "Oh, they got it!" He's really excited. And I'm standing there, and I noticed a gentleman walk in. I don't know if he's younger than me, but I noticed a gentleman walk in, and he's kind of acknowledged him, said what's up, kind of looked, and it's kind of weird. You're wearing a mask, so you don't always know who is who, and it's when you smile, you can't really tell if you're smiling, and acknowledging someone with a mask on it's just super strange these days. But anyways, for what it's worth, I acknowledged him, he acknowledged me, and it was kind of a cool. Didn't know each other, right? But as I'm standing in line, we make contact again, and then he says, "Hey, I follow you on Instagram." And I said, "Do you?" I said, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah." I was like, "Man, that's cool." And so my kids immediately they turn and look, and I go, "Right on, man. I appreciate it." I go, "What's your name?" And he's like, he tells me Javier, and I said, "Oh man, nice to meet you." He goes, "No, I listen to your podcast. Like, I love your podcast. I've listened to every episode while I'm at work, and I've shared your podcast with my girl." And man, he's like, it's inspiring. You know what I mean? He goes, "I don't even know how I came across your Instagram or how I came across your podcast. It was somewhere I listened to it, and then I found you on Instagram or something." He goes, and that was that. And so we started talking a little bit, and I was like, "Wow, really?" And immediately, when people tell me that they listen to my podcast, I start in my mind, it's instant. I start trying to remember all the things that I talk about on this podcast because it's really about my life. So I'm like, gosh, man, I said some stuff on my podcast. This guy, this person, whoever it is, knows a lot about me. Um, and I'm okay with that. But when it happens to me in public, I'm like, oh, man. Uh, but what was interesting is it ended up being a guy that I had chatted with a few times on my DM. He's DM'd me after listening to a podcast and telling me, a bit about the podcast. And, like, I think the most recent one he DM'd me about was um, the one where I talked about, living the way I was living during COVID and the lockdown, and having to shower and bathe the way I was, and the way I was living, and how I've pulled through that. And man, if you remember that episode, that was a very, very hard episode for me to do. It was very, not that everything on this podcast isn't personal, but that one was extremely personal, and very hard for me to share with you guys. Um, but that was the last conversation we had. And then he's a Chargers fan and a Padres fan, and I really like the Chargers quarterback Herbert. So do my kids, and we really are big baseball fans, and we love Fernando Tatis. Even though we're Giants fans, we have favorite players on every team. So we kind of, every time I share certain things, he'll reply and be like, "Yeah, man." So it's pretty cool that we have that. But that ended up being the guy that I met. Now I thought the guy was from San Diego. Apparently, he is from San Diego, but I thought he actually lived in San Diego. But what he was telling me is he actually lives in San Jose now, and but he's from San Diego. And I was blown away. It was super cool to meet somebody from my podcast that listens to my podcast that I've never met, and I just thought it was really cool. So we were able to talk. He met my kids, and he's like, "Hey, man, I know, hey." Kind of knows them by name because of the podcast, and was like having a cool little combo with them. We took a picture. It's on my Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. It's Ray Molina. So you'll see us at a GameStop. We took a picture, and I shared that with everybody, because it's you know it's really strange for me because you got to understand, if you go through my Instagram, if you go back like prior to 2016, it's all music. Like, I was touring all over the United States and Canada. So you got to understand, like, if you go back that far on my feed, you'll see me doing shows from San Jose all the way to New York and Philadelphia and Canada and everywhere in between. You'll see me doing shows everywhere with my boy Trey. You'll see me signing posters, signing shirts, signing autographs, taking photos. You'll see me on stage. You'll see me performing. You'll see all these things. And for me, for 22 years or so, that was normal for me. But what isn't normal for me is meeting people that have gotten to know me through this podcast and not my music, which is so strange to me because I'm so used to someone coming up to me saying, "Man, I love your music," or "Man, I bought that one CD when I was in high school, and man, it did something for me when I was a kid," or it's always been music. And now the gears have shifted, and it's been people coming up to me about my podcast. So it's taken some getting used to me, because it's more personal. Not that my music isn't personal. If you've bought any of my music that I've put out in over the last few years, you'll know it's very personal. I talk about a lot of stuff that I deal with. Um, but the podcast is even way more personal. It's almost like this is what I was telling Javier. This is like a journal for me. This is my life, and I share it with you guys, and I give you everything that I'm going through and everything that I live through, and my ups, my downs, my triumphs, my lows, my defeats, and all these things. I share them with you here, and it's almost like a release for me to just get things off. So, anyways, it was super super cool to meet Javier, and my boys as he was walking off, and I told him I don't know if you heard this, but. Uh, as he was walking off, both of my boys go, "He was cool. I like him. He was nice." And I was like, he was cool, huh? And so I messaged him and I said, I don't know if you heard my kids, but they thought you were cool. And it was really cool because when stuff like that happens, my kids kind of look at me like, man, people know my dad. And like I said before, it used to be with music. I would be with them, and someone would come up to me and say, "Hey, man, I got your CD, or do you mind if I take a picture?" And not that I'm ever been some big celebrity, because I never have been, but on a small level, I've had these little instances where things like that happen, and anytime it happens in front of my kids. Uh, it's a kind of a special moment, you know what I mean? It just is. So, with that being said, I want to give a shout out to Javier, man. It was a pleasure meeting you, and I think you're super cool, man. It's good chatting with you about baseball and football, and yeah, I'm gonna hit you up, man. I got this thing called FTHR, Father Time Health and Recreation, and I'm gonna start putting these hikes together with these groups because we're starting to open up from COVID now, and I'm gonna make sure to contact you, man, if you'd like to join us. It's on these hikes. I usually get it's usually fathers, but I also want to incorporate men who are trying to learn how to be a better father or a father or prepare to be a father. So when they have kids, they're around men who have kids and maybe can get all these tips before they actually join the party. You know what I mean? So I'm going to make sure to contact you, man. It was a pleasure to meet you. And again, man, take care of yourself. Uh, Prior to that, another time that I had met somebody, I think I was telling Javier this as well, is I met a lady at Target, um, that she this was I was so this was like one of the first times a woman has come up to me, and she stared at me, she looked at me, she kind of stopped what she was doing, and she walked up to me. She's like, "You have a podcast?" And I said, "I do." "Do you listen?" And she's like, "I do." She's like, "I love your podcast." She's like, I was in tears the other day listening to your podcast." She's like, and then 10 minutes later, I'm laughing because of another story you're telling. She's like, "I just like how raw and real it is." Um, she's like, I shared your podcast with my kid's father, and and he hit me back and said he enjoyed it, and he was curious who I was, and I was like, "Really? I appreciate you." And she's like, "No, I." She's like, "Thank you so much for doing that." I To be honest with you, I was more nervous meeting this woman than I was meeting Javier. I was just, I felt nervous. I forgot to take a picture. I usually like to, when I meet people, take pictures and share it. And I was nervous. I was like, oh man, because honestly, it was the first time a woman had came up to me and said she had listened to my podcast and was a fan of it. Um, but it's all these things are starting to happen now, and it's telling me that the podcast is growing. And another thing is, it's telling me that that every one of you that listens, and to be honest with you, it's not thousands and thousands of people who listen to me right now. It's a couple of hundred, but what it's telling me, a couple hundred of you, or a handful of you in that group are sharing these podcasts. You're sharing the link. You're sharing some of the excerpts from the episodes that I've done, and I appreciate you because that's how this thing grows. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot of money to run a bunch of ads for the podcast so it gets popular. I'm really banking on word of mouth. I'm really banking on people enjoying the content, enjoying the realness, and hopefully taking something that maybe I've gone through and experienced and applying it to their life, and maybe saying, "Hey, man, I got a friend that's going through this," or I got somebody that needs to hear this. That's what I'm banking on, and it seems like That's what's happening recently. So, for those of you who continue to share this podcast, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. I can't even explain how that makes me feel. Thank you so much. And by any chance, listen, if you, for some reason, run into me in public and you see me or you notice me, don't be shy. I love to meet everybody. I'm There's nothing special about me. I'm a very approachable person. If you recognize me or whatever and you want to come say hi, it doesn't matter if I'm with my kids. Hopefully you're polite. If we happen to be eating or whatever. But I seriously would love to hear from all you guys. So if that's you and you'd like to meet me and say hello, please, by all means, don't be shy. Come say hi. Let's take a picture, and I'd love to hear feedback from you guys. All right. So yeah, so that was that. Moving on to something else. So remember, I keep talking about uh, investing and putting money and making money work for you, and that's kind of been a theme that I've been talking about for a few weeks now. I want to talk about this a little bit real quick because um, I think some, without naming names, someone had mentioned to me that, oh man, you shouldn't tell too many people about this thing that you're investing in because you know um, this should be something for you, and your family. And I said, that's that's where the problem is. Um, these aren't really secrets. They're just things that some people take advantage of and jump into. And there's things that some people that are like, I don't know, I'm skeptical. So they're not really secrets. You know what I mean? And I was telling this person, when you treat things like, hey, I shouldn't share this, this should be for me, it's almost as if you're saying there's not enough money out there for everybody. And that's where the problem starts, with greed, with um, going into this saying, "Oh, I'm going to be a millionaire eventually, and I'll be the one that to say that I made it, and nobody else can say that they made it," whatever. Um, or um, you just want that for yourself, and that's fine. Like, I know a lot of people that do that, but for me, this isn't about that. And what I was telling this person is, you should want to see other people win. You should want, especially the loved ones in your life, you should want to see them win. Okay? Because winners want to see people win. A true winner doesn't want to see somebody lose. Okay? A true winner doesn't cheer people on who are struggling, doesn't cheer people on who have fallen on their face, doesn't cheer people on who are broke and say, "Yeah, you suck, stay in the dirt, I'm over here thriving." No, a winner wants to see other people win. A true leader creates other leaders. All right. And I think winners create other winners. And that's what I was explaining to this person. I said, listen, I have contacted a handful of people that I love, a handful of people that I know have struggled and are struggling currently, with tips on things that I'm doing that I see are working for me. And I'm telling them, look, you don't have to take my advice, okay? You don't have you could get off this phone and say, I'm good, but I appreciate it. But I would feel wrong if I didn't at least reach out to you and say, hey, look, let me show you the results that I'm getting, and I want to share this with you because I want you to have this for you. I want you to have this for your kids. I want you to have this for your family because you deserve it. You deserve to take, if you have an opportunity to take this couple $100, you deserve to take that couple $100 and put it in this account and watch that money work for you. And with the hopes that this is eventually going to take off and be something bigger, to where you can not only take care of your kids, but your kids can take care of their kids, and so on and so on and so on. So that's what I've done. I've reached out to plenty of people. Again, not everybody's going to take the opportunity. Not everybody's going to say, hey, I'm willing to do that. I'll take your advice. Some people have, some people haven't. That's not my job. My job is, I'm going to reach out to, it's not even, I shouldn't even say it's a job. It's not really my job. but I feel it in my heart that I don't want to be the only one if something breaks, uh, something goes off big that I'm involved with. I don't want to be the only one standing there saying, look at me, I did it. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that. I would like that. I would like it to be with a group of people that I love. I told this to my brother who who's shared information with me and is kind of a mentor to me with regards to investing. I told him, I said, you know what I'm imagining? I'm imagining one of these investments that we're in on taking off, doing far and beyond what we thought it could do, and sitting here going, wow, we did it. We finally took pennies and flipped them and turned them into millions. And look at us now. We have the opportunity to provide for our families for a lifetime and beyond. And I said, you know what I imagine is the group of people that jumped in and really and took the advice that we gave them and you gave me and I passed it to them. If this investment breaks and breaks out and blows up, I would love for us to get together, go on a trip somewhere, and just together celebrate life. I would love to do that. And he's like, that's what it's about, man. It's about living life. It's about um, not just sharing it with yourself and not being greedy. It's about growing with a community and people who are like minded and taking that and taking care of your family, taking care of people who took care of you. Like I said in my previous podcast, there are so many people that I thought about, like, or that I still think about, that if that ever happens, that I want to take care of, that I want to look out for. Not just my friends and family, my close ones, um, but I'm talking. Um, there are like my church. I would love to help my church. There are people that I'm not extremely close to, but they are people that I've had conversations with that I know have um, had a rough life, and I have been with the minimal money that I have now, have been able to help them with certain aspects of their life. I would love to be able to uh, do something bigger to give back, just because that's the type of person I am. I do all that when I don't have a whole lot of money. I donate my time which you can never give me back. But when I do have a decent amount of money, I don't hold it for myself. I may invest some of it, I may pay my bills, but a lot of it, I try to help people. You guys have seen me on Instagram and Facebook. I do a lot of stuff to help people, and I want to continue to do that. So it's bigger than just me. So if you are thinking about investing, or if you've listened to my podcast and the wheels are starting to turn with regards to stock, with regards to cryptocurrency, with regards to all those things, NFTs and all these things, please keep in mind, yes, we all want to get in a better place financially. All of us do. Anybody who's listening to this podcast is probably thinking, man, I would love to. But if I could tell you something, keep in mind that greed isn't going to get you anywhere. Being the only one standing on top of the hill, if something cracks off really big, is no fun. It may be fun for a minute, but what's more gratifying is knowing that you helped give some information, some very helpful, priceless information to somebody that's working for you, and you gave it to somebody you love or to one of your close friends, and they came up as well. All right? That's way more gratifying than being up there by yourself trying to be the king of the hill. Okay? At least that's my opinion. Take it for what it is. All right? So that's that with regards to investing and wealth. And I say wealth. I don't like saying rich because there are a lot of rich people. Uh, what I'm talking about is wealth, and that means generational wealth. When you are wealthy, You can take care of your kids, 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 kids. Got it? Um, Real quick, when you start doing good, and I'm going to bring this up because my mom, and I'm going to keep this part really short. I don't want to go into details of a dream that my mom just had, but I was just called by my mom recently, uh, and she was, she has anxiety, but she had an extremely bad nightmare, and the nightmare had to do with me. Um, Apparently, in her nightmare, something was trying to take me from her, and it scared her, and she was trying to hold on to me, and this thing grabbed me, and I couldn't fight back. I was trying to fight back and trying to get back to her, and she said she was trying to fight it. She fell, and then in the middle of the night, she woke up uh, and screamed for help. And then she messaged me and actually called me, and she was, man, I could hear how she was terrified. She asked me, she literally called me and asked me, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And she was like breathing hard, and I'm like, "I'm fine. Are you okay?" And she tells me about this dream, and and I calmed her down, said a prayer with her, read a Bible passage to her, um, and just had to calm her down. Uh, but what I shared with her was this: there are a lot of things that are going on in my life, as are a lot of things going on in everybody's lives. We're always all going through this, okay? But when you start to make this change and you start to really solidify the new person or the new version of who you are going to be attacked. Things are going to come, whether you believe or not. Okay, let's say you're someone who doesn't believe in God, someone who doesn't believe in any of that, but you're trying every day to become a better person. You're trying to change the narrative of your story. You are going to be attacked, whether it be spiritually, whether it be mentally, whether it be by people that you used to hold very close to you as friends or family. You're going to be attacked. It's going to happen. Anytime you start to make these changes to better yourself and to get right and to get off that path you used to be on, um, things are going to happen. I know, I can tell you. I have a terrible past, okay? I wasn't a great guy for a long time. I I I abused alcohol. I dabbled in drugs. I never had a drug addiction, but I did dabble. I wasn't the best guy to women. I, you know, just had I was, to be honest, man, I was a player. I was playing the field when I was younger. I didn't have the best reputation, and it's not that I wasn't a good guy, but I was young, and there's no excuse. I was young, playing the field and being an idiot. Had no respect, and just all I cared about was me and the next trip. That's all I cared about. I have my history, as do everybody that's listening to this. We all have a history. But what I can tell you is when you've decided to, I'm not gonna live like that no more. I'm gonna live a better life. I'm always gonna be upfront with people. I'm gonna live my truth. I'm always gonna be straight with people. I'm gonna never run from my past. I ain't gonna tell everybody who I was, but I'm gonna tell them, and I'm gonna show them who I am now. When you make that decision, you will be attacked. People are going to say things about you. Uh, People are going to try to throw pebbles and boulders and rocks in your path. They're going to do it. They're going to send people your way. It's going to happen. But you have to stay strong. You have to, if you really want to change, you have to stay on that path. You have to know that there is something better at the end of your story as long as you stay on that path, regardless of whether you believe or not. If you ask me, that path is stronger if you believe. That's my opinion. I'm a believer. I love God. I love the Lord and what He's done in my life. I wouldn't be where I'm at today without God. If you ask me, that's my opinion. But I don't push my views. I don't push my opinions on anybody, but that's my opinion. I know I'm in a place where I'm at right now because of God. All right. And so what I told my mom is there have been things going on in my life over the last 6 months that have tried to pull me in, that have tried to pull me into situations where I could get into an argument, get into a fight, get into some other stuff that I know is not beneficial to me and my new path. It's not even a new path anymore. It's literally been my path for the last 4 years, going on 5 years now. So I am well into this path now. So this is nothing new, but the attacks are still coming. I told my mom, I said, and when they can't get to me, they go to you. Now you're being attacked in your dreams. You're having nightmares. You're having dreams of someone trying to take me from you. They're attacking you. I said, they're going to do that and it's going to happen. I believe in that stuff. Okay. And I told my mom, you do not get scared. All right. You do not. I'm here. You hear me. I'm fine. There's nothing wrong. We prayed. We did all that. And I got her to calm down and she felt much better. But not to get off into some all kinds of spiritual stuff, all right? But what I'm telling you is the basic of that whole story is when you start doing good, when you start changing your life, whether you, I mean, let me give it to you in layman's terms. If you were a gangbanger and you don't gangbang no more, and you're like, I don't care what they think about me, I am leaving that life. Trust me, you're gonna catch heat. It's not gonna be easy, but you can do it. I know people who've done that. It ain't going to be easy, but you can do it. If you are a drug addict, if you are an alcoholic and you quit cold turkey, it can be done, but people are going to come for you. They're going to have stuff. Remember when you used to do this, or remember when you were like that, or remember when you were strung out and you did this to that person, or remember when you were drunk and you did this. It's going to happen. And you know what? It's okay. Yes, that is who you were, but you are not that person now. You keep moving forward. If you were someone like me, my problem was always, always, always just running around. I wasn't always a faithful person. Before I was married, I was almost never faithful. I can honestly say that. I hurt a lot of people. But when I got married, that changed for me. It just changed. And after the divorce, I started questioning my life and I started questioning all the things. I'm like, maybe I should just maybe I should just be a jerk again because I changed my life. I got married and I was faithful and I lived my life according to the way a married man should live and it didn't work. I still lost my marriage. And I was like, maybe I should just go back to being a dog again. And then I looked and realized, what are you talking about, man? You're a father now. You're in your 40s. You got 2 kids. What are your kids going to think about you? You know what I mean? So I started just being upfront. I started living my truth, being honest, okay, with everybody, with any person that brought up my past, any woman that I came across that I became involved with, or even had conversations of being involved with. I was I began to be upfront. I began to be honest with these people. And when you do that, something great happens. When you're honest with people, you give them the opportunity to say, yes, I'm in, or no, I'm out. All right. That's the beautiful thing when you're honest about your life and you're just truthful. You give people an option. And I started to learn to live my life that way. Um, so when you start to make good, you start to change, you start to do better in your life, whether it be just doing that or you get on a spiritual path like I am, people are going to come. Demons are going to come. Spirits are going to come. Family's going to turn on you. Friends are going to turn on you. Uh, you name it, man. So many things are going to happen, but you got to know that you're on a better path, and you can move forward, and keep your faith, and know that, hey, as long as I keep moving forward and work on being a better person every day, I can get through this. Do not get sucked in. All right. Do not get sucked in. All right. But also, don't live in a fantasy world. It's not going to be easy. Change doesn't come easy. Otherwise, everybody would change to become better, right? And that just doesn't happen. Most people do not change to become better. They just say, to hell with it. I'm in my 40s now. This is who I am. And I'm okay. This is my life. For me, that wasn't okay. All right. Um, let me get a drink of water because I'm going to jump off into this topic real quick. And then we're going to wrap this thing up. All right. So I listened to a podcast called The Sean and Sachs Show. Okay. Uh, some of you guys know I've mentioned Sean Whalen on this podcast a few times. Sean Whalen is a guy, businessman, entrepreneur out of Utah who owns the Lions Not Sheep company. It's a clothing apparel company. But he's he has a company called Meters as well, and he does a lot of other things. He used to doing investments in real estate and all other things. But he has a podcast. He used to have his own podcast, but now he has a podcast with his wife, Sax. And so I was listening to it while I was driving the other night, and his wife said something that just smacked me in the face, man. Uh, just smacked me in the face, and I loved it. And she said, because okay, to get before that I go into that, they're both divorced from a previous marriage and were dating for a bit, broke up, and then they call it 2.0 because they got back together, and this time it was better because they addressed their issues, and now they got married. So I think they've been married for 2 months now, but they've been dating for quite some time. Anyways, they have a fantastic relationship, and they're very, how I am with this podcast, they're very open about their lives. So this podcast they do together as a couple. Again, it's called the Sean and Sachs Show, and you can find that on pretty much any of the podcast platforms. But she said, we listen closely. She said, "I'm not afraid of new love. I'm afraid of old pain." Let me say that again. "I'm not afraid of new love. I'm afraid of old pain." When she said that, I got chills because I realized that's where I'm at. I love being in love. I loved being married. My problem was I got comfortable being married. That's hard to admit. I got very, very comfortable being married, and that was a problem. But I loved being married. I love being in love. As much as I tell you guys that I'm a loner, that I like being alone, I like my alone time, I like being able to work out on my own, be with my kids, and I take pride in the fact that I'm a single father raising my kids, co-parenting with their mom, and surviving and learning every day how to be a better man. I love that. What I love more is being in love. But I will be honest with you, I am afraid of old pain. So I can't really say that I've dated over the last 4 years because I haven't. Um, I have gone out a few times with um, a few different people. Um, Sometimes once or twice, a couple of times, a bit longer, but nothing too lengthy, nothing that has, so to say, stuck. Um, and it really isn't anybody. It's been me, and I've always been upfront with anybody that's been around me. Um, that I don't know if I'm ready to be in a relationship. I don't know that I'm ready to uh, have that on my plate right now with everything that I'm doing and how I'm, growing as a man. And what I realized after listening to that podcast, it's because I'm afraid of old pain. I'm afraid of giving myself to somebody after I've worked so hard to become the man I am today. How I've gotten healthier. I've taken care of my health. I've gotten stronger, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. Um, how I've, got myself out of the gutter. And mind you, let me tell you that none of this would be possible without God. But how I've gotten myself out of the gutter and moved into a new place, have gotten out of debt, have gotten my credit back to excellent credit, have done all these things. Doing all these things, my biggest fear is falling in love and getting the old pain back. Man, that is so powerful. I know that's where I'm at because I've had situations where, I'll be honest, I've met some very wonderful women. Wonderful. They may be listening right now. And we've had some really in depth conversations, talked, just connected. And I just can't get myself to take the jump over one or two dates or more than that. I can't get myself to make that jump because I I know for a fact I keep thinking if I jump into this and it fails or I'm not good enough or I fall short, I'm I my fear is I'm going to take a bunch of steps back after I've taken so many steps forward. And I can't live like that. Can't live like that because I love love. I love being in love. And I do want to be in love again. And I know my kids want me to be happy. We had that conversation with them. I had that conversation with them after we had to have the sit down and talk about their mom dating and meeting her boyfriend and getting to know him. When we went on our walk, my little guy says, I want you to be happy too, Dad. And I told him I will be. I am happy. Um, and I told him I don't want you to think that being happy means that I have to be with somebody. All right. Because I am happy. Um, and I had to make sure he understood that. I mean, he's young, he's 9, and he's not going to understand that. He said he did, but as he gets older, he'll understand more. Um, but I, I don't know, man. That thing just hit me in the gut. There are not a lot of things that I'm afraid of, especially these days. They're just not. But I am afraid of just going back, taking steps back. That scares me, which is why I work so hard these days to stay on my A game. It's not easy, um, but I relate to that, and I guess what I wanted to share with you guys is maybe you're going through the same thing. Maybe you're going through a breakup. Maybe you're going through a divorce, or maybe you've been single for years, like I have. I've been single since 2017, and there have been times in between those 4 years where I've hung out with someone here and there. Um, Sometimes uh, when it ended, it was me that ended it. Sometimes it was them. None of those times did it end on a bad note because I go back to telling you I'm honest, I'm straightforward, I don't lie to nobody, and I always keep the line of communication early. Hey, if this is working, great. When it's not working for you, let's talk like adults. Um, but if you're in that situation, I feel you. If you can learn to be happy by yourself, you can learn to love again. And what I mean by that is, if you can learn to be happy alone, that means you don't need someone to validate your love. You don't need someone to validate your life because you have finally hit a point where I am good. Whether I am with this man or with this woman, I am good regardless. And if you can say that now, then you can love again. Because I do feel like that. I do feel like I'm ready to love again. Um, who that person's going to be, I have no idea. Uh, I don't necessarily think that is up to me. Like I said, I believe that the right person, it's just going to click, and I probably, most likely, am not going to have a choice because it's just going to work and it's going to feel right. Um, I believe that. Um, it's it's one of those things where you're like, if you're listening, you're probably like, when's it gonna happen? Like if it's going on for you right now, you're probably like, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen for me? I've been waiting this long, been waiting this long. I don't know. I can't say that I've been waiting. I don't think I've been waiting that long. But I've definitely had nights where I'm like, yo, who is who is the person that I'm gonna settle down with? Who is the person that's gonna get me to finally, say, I ain't worried about anything that went on in the past. I'm ready to love you now. Like, who is that person? I don't know. I have no idea. But you know what I can control? I can control me. And what I've been doing is trying to make sure I am the best version of me. So when that time happens, that person is getting the best version of myself. They're not getting a damaged version of me. They're not getting someone who's bitter. They're not getting someone who's still having issues um, with his spirit. They're not, someone who's still having issues parenting. They're not getting someone who's still having financial issues. They're not getting someone who isn't a go-getter. I am working on me, so when that time comes, they are getting the best version of who I am. That's what I can control. So if you're listening, you're in control of you. Man or woman, you are in control of you. As long as you are working on you every day, that person will come. I believe it. I really do believe it. So, again, I'm not afraid of new love. I'm afraid of old pain. That resonates with me. And I'm sure there's a lot of people listening right now that are like, man, I've never heard that. But that was a nugget for me. And I just had to come on this podcast and share that real quick. I don't want to hold you too much longer. Um, I'm ready. I don't know if you are. I don't know who this person is, but we'll see. When it happens. When it happens, it's going to be right, and I'm open to it because every day I'm working on me, and I'm preparing myself for that moment, um, and I know it's going to happen because I have faith. All right. That's really all I have. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Um, I want you guys to stay blessed. I want you to have a great day, great night. And I hope you guys are staying focused on getting better. And for those of you guys who tell me you're at the gym or you're running or you're working or you're doing whatever while you're listening to me, I appreciate you guys. If you are listening to me and you're working out, man, make sure you are going hard. All right. Make sure you are giving the maximum effort. Okay. And if you are not sweating by the time you are done, you are not working hard enough. All right. So, hey, remember, like the shirt says, faith and facts over fear. Got the Beast or Famine logo. Beast out every time you go, every time you do something. All right. I love you guys. Make sure to check out raymolina.com. That is my website. I've got everything on there: merchandise, the podcast, the books I'm reading, You name it, it's on my website, raymolina.com. Bookmark it, share it. I appreciate you. I'm on Instagram. It's Ray Molina, and the podcast is The Perfect Mess Pod. Follow those two profiles. We are on Facebook. And for those of you who would like to donate and just help out, I do appreciate you. It's not a requirement, but if you would like to, I use Cash App, and my Cash App is $ It's Ray Molina. All right. Again, this has been episode 31 of the Perfect Mess Podcast. I'm your host, Ray Molina. And, like I always say, my life isn't perfect. Oftentimes it's a mess, but it is my mess. And for me, it is the perfect mess. I love you guys. I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.
Perfect mess is my perfect mess.